We may be hungry, but we can manage our hunger.
Camerounais, Camerounais, mes chers compatriotes, il y a quelques années, j'avais indiqué que le septennat en cours devait être décisif. Dans la
God have mercy upon us.
The African politician is perhaps, with due respect to them, Africa's curse. No matter how good you are, if you stay for too long, you spoil it. A good dancer must know when to leave the stage.
Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. Of course, this is Cleanflix. It's a very good fine Saturday morning, and here let's discuss about Africa, because I always tell you there is a very huge problem with Africa. And I also tell you that aging African leaders should be allowed by the people, or the people of all African countries should allow the aging African leaders to retire. They should demand for their retirement, because these are the kind of leaders that really make Africa look like a joke to the entire world. We have very many African leaders who are very, very old, 80 years counting and counting, 80 years plus and counting, with more than 30 years in power, and yet their country they are leading is one of the most poorest countries in Africa, and not to mention the entire world. Let's begin by the president of Uganda, 39 years and counting, 80 years plus, but still seeking another term. The deputy prime minister, Moses Ali, 86 years and counting, has been in power since the 80s, but still he can't even walk, not to mention even sit upright, but yet still seeking power. Not to mention Tinubu, the president of Nigeria, one of the most oldest African presidents, but still the people of Nigeria can't find any president or any serving young leader to represent them. In the coming years, Nigeria will be even more worse than Ghana. Take that to the nearest bank. See the president of Cameroon, one of the most oldest human beings on earth, 91 years and counting, 43 years in power, can't even walk straight, not to mention control his pee. But yet, the people of Cameroon can't elect someone. He is seeking another term. Let's go in countries like, we have many African leaders that should currently be retiring, be going home, write memoirs, wills, and spend the little time they've got with their families. But yet, these thirsty for power leaders are still seeking terms and terms and terms. And this is not pretty at all for African leaders. The only problem we have in Africa is the African leaders. And unless there is will to change these old aging African leaders, there will be no change in Africa. Let's watch this video and then I'll be giving my commentaries at the end.
With all due respect, why is it that some of our elderly statesmen, grandfathers, great-grandfathers, and fathers who have served their countries, who have done what they could do in their time, are not allowed to rest and enjoy the little time they still have on this earth before their final departure? Guys, I'm going to share with you some videos of some of these statesmen, and you tell me if you think that they are still capable to deliver. My name is R Cave, and all I do here is bring you updates regarding happenings around our beautiful continent Africa. If this is your first time coming across my page, do well to follow me, or if you're watching on other platforms, subscribe to the family and like the video, share to as many as possible, and remember to drop your comments in the comment section regarding all what you are going to see. So let's dive deep into it. We are going straight to Uganda. Here in the video is General Moses Ali. He is a senior statesman in Uganda. He has served and is serving as a lawmaker. He is a parliamentarian. He is a deputy prime minister. And as we speak, he is contesting again for a seat in the parliament. And look at his state and tell me, guys, are you really sure that with the state of Papa here, do you think that he still has anything to give us? That's why I started by asking, why is it that they cannot allow these statesmen to rest, enjoy the little bit of time that they have before their final departure? And what is so painful here is, look at what is going on. And the most painful thing is, the people are clapping. The people are cheering him up. Are they trying to tell us that there is absolutely no one in that county that can represent the county and be able to deliver? I mean, it's so sad to see that thousands of people are there trying to encourage that. As if that is not enough, right? I had talked about the President Museveni, who is also running for office. He has announced his 7th term for office come 2026. Look at the president. He is over 80 years. Do you think that at this juncture, he still has the strength to deliver as he had before? Those are the kind of questions we are asking ourselves. We move from Uganda. Here we are talking about South Sudan. Look at the president of South Sudan, Salva Kiir. Look at, he barely has strength to walk. He has challenges to even walk. But again, he is not ready to give up going in for upcoming elections in his country, which probably may take place in 2026, right? That is the case of South Sudan. Let's go over to Cameroon. Here is the president, the current president of Cameroon. He is Paul Biya, and he has been serving as president since 1982. He has been in power for over 43 years. He is 92 years, would be 93 years in a couple of weeks or months coming up. And he has recently announced that he is going to run again as president for the 8th term in Cameroon. Again, my problem is not even running for president. Again, look at his situation. He is tired. He is weak. He barely has strength to walk. And then I asked a question. Why is it that his family, his close collaborators, would allow him to be going through this pain? Because this is pain. This is not serving. This is not about power anymore. If you ask me, I would have proposed that at this juncture, the president retires and enjoy the few days that he still has on this earth before his final days come. And he should have been serving as an advisor to the country, as a consultant. New heads of states of the country would go to him to seek advice how to handle things, not punishing him like that, and his family members are there and they are not doing anything. Because if it was my father, I would not want my dad to go through this kind of torture. This is total torture. He is tired. He doesn't have the strength that he had way back in 1982 or in the 90s and things like that. Look at the president of the Senate in Cameroon. The same thing. He is over 94, 95 years. I think he should be around 96 years. You can see clearly he is tired. He doesn't have the strength. Why are his family members doing this to him? How can you allow your daddy to go through this torture? This is not enjoyment. At this juncture, these statesmen were supposed to be in their houses resting and helping the younger ones to understand how to run the country. It is not finished. We move over to Equatorial Guinea. Look at the situation of the president of Equatorial Guinea. He barely walks. The strength is not there anymore. But again, daddy will not want to give up power. Daddy will not want to hand power over to the next generation. I don't know what is happening with some of our African leaders, but the truth is, this is not healthy at all. At this juncture where these, our fathers, grandfathers, great-grandfathers are, they were really supposed to be resting and having the best moments of their lives for the few days that they still have to live on this earth. Guys, this is just the little I wanted to share with you. Let me also know from you what you think in the comment section. And I think that they should have passed over or hand over power to a younger generation so that they would be able to complete or do what they didn't have strength again to do. Thank you so much for watching and see you in my next one. Au revoir et à la prochaine fois.
Let me give you one of the most famous example of African old leaders that really destroyed their country by just wanting to rule more years and more years and more years and more years. Let's talk the great land of Zimbabwe. Blessed be the land of Zimbabwe. I saw in a book they say in Shona it's Kalibusiswe ilizwe we Zimbabwe. Indembele isimuzai murizwe we Zimbabwe. That means blessed be the land of Zimbabwe, formerly known as Rhodesia. The president of Zimbabwe, the former president of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe. Robert Mugabe ruled Zimbabwe for more than 37 years. He took power in 1980 as the first prime minister of Zimbabwe. And then after 7 years, in 1987, he became the president of Zimbabwe. In the first 10 years in power, he literally controlled Zimbabwe and made Zimbabwe great. Hence, blessed be the land of Zimbabwe. He came up with the name Zimbabwe from Rhodesia to Zimbabwe. He made Zimbabwe great, literally. But when he started aging and refused to let go power, Zimbabwe started to crumble, to fumble. Zimbabwe economy went down. Zimbabwe currency is one of the most useless currencies in the world today. For you to buy a matchstick in Zimbabwe, you need 10 million shillings. Zimbabwe shillings. For you to buy a bread, you need trillions of money. Zimbabwe is one of the most useless currencies in the world. Why? The impact of Mugabe. Zimbabwe has one of the most unemployed citizens. Why? The impacts of Robert Mugabe. It is now trying to reform since he let go power in the year 2017. Zimbabwe is now trying to reform. But it will take another 30 years plus to cleanse what Zimbabwe and Robert Mugabe left. So that is to say, needless to say, these African leaders, like the leader of Cameroon, 43 years and counting, if you don't want change in Cameroon, you will need 43 years again for Zimbabwe to be a great land. Look at what is happening in Burkina Faso. The people of Burkina Faso demanded change for a very long time, but the president of Burkina Faso did not want to let go power. Democracy was not happening in Burkina Faso. People were living in fear in Burkina Faso. But when Ibrahim Traore took power through a military coup, look at Burkina Faso right now, one of the most developing and fastest developing countries in Africa. Look at what is happening in our sister country, Uganda. Uganda people are living in fear, afraid of the military, the police. Not to mention the countries like Nigeria. Unless there is will to change Africa, there will be no change in Africa. And change in Africa will only come when these specific African countries decide that we need to elect leaders, not just old grandparents to rule us. We need to elect leaders who are willing to serve their 2-term policy and go home and give room to the next leaders. Because if you have been 43 years in power and haven't done anything for the people, why are you seeking another term? If you have been 39 years in power and still seeking for another term, it means you are the problem, not the people of your country. So unless there is will to change Africa, there will be no change in Africa. African aging leaders should literally go home and retire and spend the little time they've left with their families. Tell me what to think, guys.